rapidly rising gas prices hitting consumers' pocketbooks yet again this summer, most Americans continue to feel powerless at the pump. The blatant refusal of U.S. policymakers to take the steps necessary to address climate stabilization has left a palpable void in leadership. But many American citizens, fed up with the glacial pace of energy policy in this country, have started to take matters of transportation and global warming into their own hands. EnviroNews Utah was able to catch up with a few of these trailblazers and learn more about their groundbreaking developments.
Michael Milkey's my name, and I'm partnered with my colleague and friend Kyle Dancy with Zero Emissions Utah, and that is vehicles that run without any emissions whatsoever. That means, in our case, electric, run on solar, with a solar panel on top to charge our battery even. So it emits no pollution whatsoever.
Carl Clark is a former Republican Utah senator who also happens to be the author of the original Utah Clean Air Act. But nowadays, he can be found in a humble warehouse in Murray, Utah, completing one groundbreaking electric vehicle conversion after another.
We're here today to talk to you about the little outfit that we've got here in Salt Lake City called the Electric Car Company. And what we do is we convert existing vehicles to run on electricity.
Concerned about air quality, rising gas prices, and the current climate crisis, this small group of innovative individuals is not content to wait for the large automakers to get with the program. They've decided to convert their own vehicles to run exclusively on electric power, right from their own garages, and with no help at all from engineers at the nation's major auto companies.
The tipping point is we just got so ticked off because the conversation around clean air here was about not idling, driving a little less, things that won't matter whatsoever, when what we've got to do is something consequential like run electric vehicles. Now, if we can get electric vehicles that emit nothing, then we can really make a difference. So it was just needing to actually make a difference, not a statement, to make a difference.
Originally inspired after watching the film Who Killed the Electric Car, computer programmer Kyle Danzy decided he couldn't wait any longer for the government or market forces to act. So he decided to try his hand at building his own custom vehicles.
My name's Kyle Danzy, and I convert vehicles to electric power, and we decided to do something because we're tired of breathing dirty air and being addicted to Middle East oil.
So what made you finally decide to do this?
It's frustration of waiting for car companies or government to do something. We're still waiting for the big three to come out with electric vehicles, and maybe someday they will.
The tenacity of the Electric Car Company and Zero Emissions Utah members has demonstrated the feasibility of electric vehicles. But just where is the leadership from the big three American automakers? Our own Josh Cunnings caught up with John Vieira of Ford Motor Company to discuss the delay behind converting the entire Ford product line to petroleum-free, pollution-free vehicles.
Now, there's a company out of Utah we've heard of called Zero Emissions Utah. We're from Utah, and the air pollution problem there is horrendous. This company, they've been producing a kit that will allow you to extract the guts of any fossil fuel-powered vehicle and convert its power system into a very efficiently charged electrical system. It is a plug-in, so we do have your cottage level, your mom and pop tinkers here that are producing an accessible and easily affordable kit to most Americans to convert their cars right now. Why is it that these other companies, these mom and pop size, they have this technology? When this technology has been out for a long time, why is it that, the big companies are unable to access it? Why has it not already happened? I mean, like I said, we've run out of time.
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I think there are a lot of good ideas and a lot of good concepts out there. And oftentimes what we find with some of these technology concepts that the smaller groups come up with, that they make a lot of sense, let's say, in the lab. When we need to put them in mass production and you need to consider all the safety elements and everything else, sometimes it's more challenging to go from that concept to where we are right now.
While Ford is the only one of the big three that has introduced a fully electric vehicle to date, according to some statistics and members of Zero Emissions Utah, introducing these vehicles to the market at such a lethargic pace is simply inadequate to reverse global warming and achieve climate stabilization.
The science, the scientists, the people who look at this every day They know we have a very short time to change dramatically. I believe young people see it's not going to happen in our government. It's not going to happen from the business community, and particularly when you're looking at the deadly, serious, lethal, looming catastrophe of global warming and climate catastrophe, which means we have to do something very different than what we're doing now, decrease our carbon dioxide emissions by 6% every year from now until 2050 to when we really release no carbon.
Hoping to spark public conversation around the need to incentivize the development of clean vehicle infrastructures in our cities, members of Zero Emissions Utah and the electric car companies say they are doing their part to offer real solutions for today's climate, pollution, and transportation challenges.
One car at a time, we're able to clean up some more emissions. And if everybody was doing that just one car at a time, pretty soon it would multiply and be a big thing for the whole planet. And that's what I'm in it for. As you can see, I'm no spring chicken. I could have been retired a long time ago, but I enjoy what I do. It's a challenge, and I want to see us do whatever we can to make this a better place for our kids.
We talked to the mayor, we talked to the governor, we talked to the city council about installing infrastructure. It's difficult because it's different, and it's difficult for people to understand. People still are thinking about electric as something that's yet to come, and the U.S. and particularly Utah is way behind.
But is Utah really so far behind in the development of clean vehicle infrastructures? We decided to ask the current governor of Utah ourselves about his administration's support for this type of cutting-edge solution. We recently documented a story about Zero Emissions Utah, which is a group that builds electric vehicles here in Utah, and they run exclusively off electric power. They are charged by solar energy. They have the ability to drive 50 miles per charge, and they can reach a speed of 85 miles per hour or more. Would it be logical to try to implement a program that could put in place some kind of a strong infrastructure for zero-emission vehicles, electric vehicles of this type within Salt Lake City? Is that something that your administration would be supportive of, creating that kind of infrastructure?
Well, we are already doing something like that, not necessarily for zero-emissions automobiles and electrical cars.
But the governor didn't seem very interested in discussing zero-emission vehicles at length. He quickly shifted gears to other topics and seemed eager to express his views on the importance of coal and other conventional fuels.
We have more coal than they have oil. And so coal ought to be a part of our energy portfolio. You know, we can say, let's all switch over to solar power. That would be bold, but it would be foolish because it's just not practical. Solar powered, we don't have the technology to do it.
But Zero Emissions Utah and the electric car company insist that this type of modification is feasible. With solar panels on the roof of the car and the garages where they are charged, these vehicles emit absolutely nothing and produce no pollution at all. With an average conversion cost of around $16,000 and a range of up to 1 million miles, one is left to ask, are these vehicles really ready for prime time?
One of the beautiful things about an electric car is there's so few moving parts, you can get an electric motor that'll run over 1 million miles without any problem at all. So you got no oil changes, you got no emissions, you've got a fuel that's costing like 15% of what you're paying for gasoline. It seems like it's a no-brainer, and yet there's a lot of forces that move against us which try to keep us back from being able to do this, but I think you'll find that the electric cars are going to prevail in the long run.
According to Zero Emissions Utah, public reaction to these vehicles seen driving around town has been one of curiosity.
People just, stare and they open their mouths because electric is quiet. You don't hear it.
Notice how quiet it is. That's one of the beauties of these vehicles. They're just as quiet as can be.
And you do drive them every day?
Yeah, I drive them every day. I drove this one to work every day this week. The cost per mile is much cheaper on electricity because the electric motor is 85 to 95% efficient. Means that the energy actually goes to moving the vehicle down the road. Whereas with a gas engine, a gas motor is typically only 25 to 30% efficient, and 75% of your energy from the gasoline is going out the tailpipe in wasted heat. It doesn't do you any good at all.
And rumor has it that quietness and incredible efficiency are not the only attributes that these revolutionary vehicles have to boast about.
This truck here probably has a range of 100 miles. It's not quite finished, although we drove it today for the first time, and it was so exciting.
Top speed on this vehicle, I've had it doing 85 miles an hour on the I-15 freeway, and I had to slow down for other traffic. So in the summertime, we'll get a clear day, and when the traffic's low, and we'll find out what it will really do.
According to members, one of the goals of zero-emissions vehicles is that people understand that these unique cars are not just a novelty, but offer a real solution for climate change and Utah's critical air pollution problem.
If we were serious here, we'd let go of a lot of these cars and trucks, because the vast majority of the crud in the air is from automobiles and trucks. So that's why we've got to go in the direction of electric. It's probably the only genuine answer for clean air in Salt Lake City Airshed.
Kyle Danzy, who has also founded Utah Electric Vehicle Club, claims that education is the key if we are to see clean vehicles become commonplace.
It's spreading the word and, educating people of what's possible. Because the more people we get out here spreading this idea around, the faster it'll catch on, and the faster if the big three auto companies or the world auto companies actually produce electric vehicles, they'll be accepted a lot faster in the marketplace.
As awareness of such services grows among the general public, expanding the number of modified electrical vehicles present throughout the city represents a crucial step in tackling Salt Lake City's air pollution problem. But until the big three automakers of this country initiate a massive global rollout of zero-emissions automobiles, achieving climate stabilization before it's too late will be difficult. It may lead to Americans taking matters into their own hands and trying to wean their own individual communities off of the addiction to fossil fuels. Zero Emissions co-founder Michael Milkey has an urgent approach going forward and says that the need to achieve climate stabilization has grown dire.
It's a universal call for justice, because if we don't have every one of us on board, then we're not going to make it. And the reason is, no matter what we do, the United States and China and Europe and India, no matter what we do, if we stop all of the carbon emissions and the poor take the development route by burning coal and gasoline, then we won't make it. There's that little carbon budget available. So we have to bring everybody along, or we don't make it. The poor actually hold a knife to our throat. If we don't bring them, we're toast. There's a tremendous amount of despair. People have trouble looking at the information because they don't think they can make a difference. And I think that it's important that we acknowledge that our children are not going to make it unless we actually do something, that we actually get involved, that we actually take a stand. And I think once that happens, that we have to bring everybody along, all the humans on the planet, and that our children are literally at stake here. One of my closest friends in this movement is a person who started the Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment. And he stood up in the beginning of that. I was one of the first people there, and he said, this is for my granddaughter. I'm not going to stop. And this guy works all the time because he understands that his little, beautiful granddaughter is literally at stake in this.
Reporting for EnviroNews Utah, I'm Monica Bellenger.